Hi everyone, my name is Lena and I'm 11 years old. Today I will talk about friction. So today we're going to talk about friction. Now let's learn about friction and what a friction is. So now we're going to start. Friction is a contact force that goes against motion. Friction can cause a moving object to slow down or stop. So, what is a contact force? A contact force is when two things touch each other, which put a force on each other. They touch each other and they apply force on each other. That is what we call a contact force. So, that force goes against motion. Friction, which is that force, can also cause a moving object from moving to stop right away. So now let's learn more about this really interesting motion which goes against motion. Now I want you to find an eraser as big as possible. If it is big, it will be much more interesting. So you're going to put it on the table surface like this. And then you're going to push it. Don't you feel that it's like there's something that pushing against our force? If you apply more force onto the eraser, what do you feel? It's much harder to push. The more force you put onto the eraser, the harder it makes you to push it. So you feel like there's some kind of motion that goes against it. You know, if you put it on the air, not touching the table, and push it, it'll be so easy, like much easier. But why is it harder to push if we put it on the table surface instead of holding it up? So it's the friction. You know, when these two contact with each other, they apply kind of force and it'll be harder to push. The amount of friction between two objects depends on their surface. So if it's big, smooth surface will have less friction. Rough surface will have more friction. So, for example, you're going on a road, there will be less friction than you're walking on a mountain or something. So the smoother the surface is, the less friction it has. So like you go skating, you would like to choose some smooth paths to go on, so that there will be less friction, and you can move faster, right? The surface, when it is rough and you're moving on it, it will be harder for you to move, even if you choose move yourself from one place to another, or even when you are when you pull things or push things, the heavier it is, the harder. Friction can be a very useful force. Sometimes friction can be really useful. Like when you're playing soccer, basketball, or baseball or something, when you slide down or maybe you fall, the friction on the surface help you to stop. If there's no friction at all, you will continue to slide. So there needs to be friction. It helps some objects to stop. So now I have a piece of wood and I have a rubber band here. When I attach it to the wood and when I pull it, you can see that the rubber band doesn't go long much. So it's not applying a very big force, because the surface, you can see the table, is pretty smooth. So the rubber band doesn't need to stretch long. But if the surface is much rougher, maybe it would be different. you can see that the table is so smooth, and it's very easy to move the object because it's just have a little bit of friction. But now I have some pieces of like these are very rough, and maybe it will make the friction. It will make more friction. Let's try. When we pull it here, you can see that whoa, the rubber band stretches pretty much. See? It stretches pretty much. It doesn't seem the same as it did on the piece on the table. So you can see that the rough surface have made the rubber band stretch very much. That means that we need to apply more force to pull the piece of wood than we did to use the one that we pull the piece of wood on a smooth surface. So today we've learned a lot about friction, which is a contact force that goes against motion. So friction is a very interesting thing to talk about. The rougher the surface is, the harder we will need to do, the more friction there is. Well, that's all about my video. Thank you for listening. Bye.